Have you ever noticed that in the colorful chaos of Springfield, some characters just don't make sense? Why do certain faces reappear for decades without aging? Why does Hans Moleman die 100 times and come back every episode? And what secrets are hidden behind the silent stare of Maggie Simpson? Today, we're diving deep into the shadows of The Simpsons to uncover the most mysterious characters that even the writers might not fully explain. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a trip to America's strangest town, Springfield. Sure, The Simpsons makes us laugh, but behind the jokes and duff beer are some of television's most unexplained mysteries. From characters who defy time to secret identities and eerie coincidences, The Simpsons has hidden more secrets than you might think. So grab a donut, sit back, and let us solve the mystery of the most mysterious there's a reason. The Simpsons isn't just another animated sitcom, it's a cultural phenomenon that has been running for more than 3 decades, shaping humor, pop culture, and even eerily predicting real-world events. But behind all the laughter, slapstick gags, and bright yellow characters lies a strange truth. The Simpsons is filled with mysteries that no one ever truly talks about. From unexplained storylines to characters who seem to defy logic and reality, Springfield may be one of the most mysterious fictional towns in television history. When most people think of The Simpsons, they think of Homer's iconic dough, Bart's mischievous skateboarding adventures, and Lisa's philosophical wisdom. But if you look closely, this cheerful, colorful world starts to feel off. Characters appear and disappear without explanation. Timelines reset as if nothing ever happened. And some residents of Springfield seem trapped in time never aging, never changing, and sometimes not even alive. Fans have started asking, is there more to The Simpsons than meets the eye? Over the years, small clues have appeared in the background of episodes, odd references, recurring symbols, and strange coincidences that go far beyond lazy continuity errors. There are moments that make you wonder whether the writers are hinting at something, bigger something hidden beneath the bright animation. Maybe The Simpsons isn't just a show about a dysfunctional family. Maybe it's a puzzle, one that's been unfolding slowly since 1989. Take, for example, the way time works in Springfield. The show exists in a permanent present. Bart is forever 10, Lisa is always 8, and Maggie never speaks. Yet the world around them changes. Technology advances, presidents come and go, but The Simpsons remain frozen in this timeless loop. Some fans call it Simpson time, a mysterious timeline that stretches and snaps back whenever needed, creating the illusion of continuity while hiding the unsettling truth that these characters are stuck in an endless cycle. But what if that's intentional? What if Springfield itself is a kind of purgatory, a place where time doesn't move forward, where its citizens relive the same stories, tragedies, and jokes over and over? There are episodes that subtly hint at this. Characters have died multiple times only to return without explanation. Entire realities are rewritten after dream sequences. Some even speculate that the show's creators deliberately use these loops to comment on existence itself, the idea that life, like Springfield, never really changes, it just keeps repeating until the meaning gets lost. Even more bizarre is how certain characters seem to know they're in a show. There are moments when Homer or Bart look directly into the camera or make comments that break the fourth wall. In one episode, Homer literally enters a 3-dimensional world, aware that something beyond his cartoon existence exists. Another time, Lisa becomes self-aware enough to question her family's purpose, asking, aren't we all just repeating the same mistakes over and over? These subtle nods create a creeping suspicion that The Simpsons might be more self-aware than any other animated series in history. And then there's the infamous predictive power of the show. Over the years, The Simpsons has correctly predicted countless real-world events, everything from Donald Trump's presidency to smartwatches, autocorrect, and even the Disney-Fox merger. Fans debate endlessly whether these are coincidences, clever writing, or something more eerie. Could it be that the creators of The Simpsons are hinting that Springfield exists in some strange parallel universe connected to ours? Or maybe they re-showing us how reality itself imitates fiction, an idea that is far deeper and stranger than it first appears. There's also the haunting consistency of Springfield's geography. The town's layout seems to change constantly. In one episode, the nuclear power plant is next to Moe's Tavern. In another, it's across a river. Sometimes the mountains are behind the Simpson house, other times they vanish. It's as if Springfield itself is alive, shifting, morphing, refusing to be pinned down. The effect is unsettling once you notice it. It gives the impression that the town is not just a setting, but a living, breathing entity, one that rearranges itself to trap its citizens in an eternal loop of absurdity. Even the show's humor hides darkness. Episodes that start lighthearted often descend into surreal, dreamlike chaos. Strange, unexplained moments like Homer's mysterious trip to the land of chocolate or the chilling treehouse of horror. Episodes blur the line between comedy and nightmare. It's almost as if these moments are portals, glimpses into something beneath the surface of Springfield. Something the show wants us to see, but only for a moment before pulling us back into laughter. What keeps fans hooked isn't just the jokes or nostalgia, it's this underlying mystery. Every rewatch reveals something new, a hidden face in the crowd, a cryptic background message, a repeating pattern in the episode's structure. Maybe that's the genius of The Simpsons. It disguises its mysteries beneath the ordinary, hiding unsettling truths inside everyday life. Maybe Springfield is a mirror of our world, a reflection of how we, too, live in routines, loops, and cycles we don't even question. After all, the most mysterious thing about The Simpsons might not be its characters at all, it might be what the show says about us, and the strange, timeless loop we all seem to be living in. If there's one character in The Simpsons who perfectly embodies the strange, unexplainable side of Springfield, it's Hans Moleman. He's small, frail, and always seems to be on the brink of death or well beyond it. Yet no matter how many times we see him perish in bizarre and often hilarious ways, Hans always comes back. He's been crushed, burned, exploded, run over, and even buried alive, and somehow, in the very next episode, there he is again, alive and walking the streets as if nothing happened. It's funny on the surface, but when you really think about it, Hans Moleman might be one of the biggest mysteries in the Simpsons universe. Hans isn't just another background gag. His entire existence seems to defy the rules of reality that govern even a cartoon world. His age, for starters, is a complete mystery. In some episodes, he's presented as a very old man, ancient, almost mummy-like, with his wrinkled skin, cloudy eyes, and shaking voice. But in others, it's hinted that he might not be as old as he looks. At one point, he even claims to be just 31 years old, blaming his aged appearance on years of alcohol abuse. Was that a joke or a strange truth about Moleman's nature? Fans aren't sure. It's one of those moments that makes you pause and wonder if Hans Moleman's identity is more than just a punchline. His name alone sounds symbolic. Moleman, a creature that lives underground in darkness, rarely seen, surviving despite impossible odds. That imagery fits perfectly with his character. He seems to come out of nowhere, usually emerging from the ground or appearing in strange, isolated places like tunnels, basements, or caves. It's as if he's not a man at all, but something older, something from beneath Springfield itself. Could Hans Moleman be a representation of something deeper, maybe even the subconscious of the town? There's also the way other characters treat him, or rather, ignore him. Despite all the bizarre accidents that happen to him, no one ever seems to care. He's hit by cars, set on fire, and falls into holes, yet Springfield just carries on as if nothing happened. It's almost as if the people around him can't perceive his suffering, like he exists in a parallel layer of Springfield's reality. That strange detachment raises unsettling questions. Is Hans Moleman even real within the world of the show, or is he some kind of ghost, endlessly looping through his tragic comedic fate? There is an old fan theory that claims Hans Moleman represents the forgotten souls of Springfield, the people who've been overlooked, ignored, or erased by the passage of time. His constant reappearances could symbolize the show's refusal to let go of its past, recycling characters and jokes endlessly in an eternal loop. Others take it further, suggesting Moleman might actually be immortal, cursed to live forever and relive the same pain over and over. That would make him a kind of dark guardian of Springfield's continuity, a living glitch in the cartoon matrix. And then there's that famous line, "I was saying Bourns." It's one of the most quoted moments in the Simpsons history, and it perfectly captures Hans's strange mix of sadness and absurdity. He's always trying to be part of something, always trying to be seen or heard, but he's forever misunderstood. He's like a ghost crying out in a crowd that can't hear him. Maybe that's what makes him so haunting. He represents the forgotten, the invisible, the ones who keep showing up but are never really noticed. What's even weirder is that Hans Moleman has appeared in hundreds of episodes across different timelines and alternate realities. In the Simpsons movie, he's trapped in a dome, screaming for help. In other episodes, he's a film director, a prisoner, a driver's license applicant, even a church organist. He's everywhere, yet nowhere specific. He changes jobs, settings, and even storylines without explanation, which is something almost no other character does to that degree. It's as if he's drifting through Springfield's dimensions, popping in and out wherever fate or the writers decide. Some fans have even suggested that Hans Moleman might not be one person at all, but many. A recurring entity, a manifestation of Springfield's collective bad luck, reborn in different forms. Each time we see him, it's not the same man resurrected. It's another version of Moleman taking his place, like clones or echoes of the same soul. That idea fits disturbingly well with how the show treats continuity, inconsistent, ever-changing, but always familiar. There's also a darker theory that says Hans Moleman might actually be Springfield's conscience. Think about it. He's always suffering, always paying the price, while the rest of the town lives in ignorance and chaos. Every time something goes wrong, he's nearby like a silent witness to the consequences of the town's collective sins. Maybe his repeated deaths are symbolic, a form of punishment or atonement on behalf of everyone else. If you think about all the times he's appeared in the background, unnoticed, it's almost eerie. He's like a constant presence always there, always watching, always reminding us that no matter how wild or funny things get in Springfield, there's something darker lingering beneath the surface. The fact that he keeps coming back, unchanged and unbothered by the rules of reality, makes him more than just a background joke. He's a symbol of the show's weird immortality, the eternal return of chaos, pain, and absurdity that defines The Simpsons. Maybe that's why fans can't stop talking about him. Because somewhere deep down, we recognize something of ourselves in Hans Moleman. The endless repetition, the struggle to be noticed, the absurdity of surviving again and again when the world seems determined to crush us. He's tragic, funny, and unsettling all at once, a perfect mirror for the strange, looping world of Springfield that never changes, even as everything falls apart around it. If there's one name in The Simpsons that instantly conjures up mystery, power, and greed, it's Charles Montgomery Burns, the ancient, skeletal tycoon who owns the Springfield nuclear power plant. For over 30 years, he's been both villain and victim, genius and fool, the richest man in town and perhaps the most cursed. But the question that fans keep asking is, who really is Mr. Burns? Because the more you look into his story, the more it feels like there's something deeply off about him, something that doesn't quite fit within the rules of the show or even within the boundaries of human nature. From his first appearance, Mr. Burns seemed less like a man and more like a force ancient, inhuman, and strangely timeless. His paper-thin skin, his enormous age, his whispering voice, and his inescapable phrase, "excellent," have made him one of television's most recognizable villains. But if you've ever noticed how inconsistently his past is portrayed, you start to wonder whether the Mr. Burns we know is really who he says he is. Sometimes the show describes him as over 100 years old, born in the late 19th century, a relic of another era who's somehow still alive and running a nuclear empire. In other episodes, flashbacks show him as a much younger man in the 1940s or even the 1960s, which would make him far younger than he appears. How does that make sense? Has he discovered some secret to staying alive? Or has there been more than one Charles Montgomery Burns over the years, different men inheriting the same identity? There's a chilling theory that's floated around fan circles for years that the Mr. Burns we see might actually be a replacement, a clone, or even a series of imposters continuing a legacy of evil that began generations ago. It sounds insane, but the evidence adds up. He's been shown in so many different time periods with conflicting backstories that continuity alone can't explain it. his appearance never changes. His mannerisms are identical, his power is absolute. Maybe that's because the role of Mr. Burns is a mantle passed down, not a man aging through time. And then there's his uncanny resilience. This is a man who has survived being shot, hit by cars, mauled by animals, frozen solid, beaten, electrocuted, and even crushed by falling objects. Yet he always returns unscathed the very next episode. Springfield's residents age emotionally, some even physically, but Mr. Burns doesn't. It's almost as if he exists outside the normal flow of time untouched by the decay that affects everyone else. Could it be that he's more than just a character? Maybe he's the physical embodiment of greed itself, a symbol of how corruption and power never truly die, they just take new forms. The way he interacts with the world only deepens the mystery. Mr. Burns has a bizarre relationship with technology. Sometimes he has completely inept struggling to answer a phone or understand electricity, while other times he is surrounded by futuristic inventions, secret laboratories, and bizarre scientific projects that seem far beyond the show's usual reality. In one episode, he even creates a massive sun-blocking machine, demonstrating knowledge and resources that make him feel almost superhuman. Where does all this come from? How can a man so frail command such limitless influence and control? One theory suggests that Mr. Burns isn't human in the traditional sense, that he might be a kind of immortal parasite, feeding off Springfield's energy, money, and life force. The nuclear plant could be a metaphor for that, the literal and figurative heart of Springfield's pollution, both physical and moral. And who sits at its center? Burns. The town's decay mirrors his own, its corruption reflecting his endless thirst for control. Every time Springfield suffers, Mr. Burns seems to grow stronger, as if the chaos feeds him somehow. His mansion, too, adds to the mystery. Perched high above the town like a Gothic fortress, it's filled with secrets, hidden passageways, strange collections, and relics from every century. In several episodes, the mansion even changes size and design, almost as though it's alive. It's like the house itself is aging and mutating with its master. Some fans think the mansion is the true source of his power, a kind of cursed structure that sustains him and warps time around him, allowing him to live on long past his natural lifespan. And then there's that unforgettable episode, Who Shot Mr. Burns? It remains one of television's greatest cliffhangers, but there's an eerie undertone that often goes unnoticed. Even after being shot and nearly dying, Mr. Burns recovers as if nothing happened. When you look back, the way he's found sprawled on the sundial, muttering incoherently, surrounded by people he's wronged, feels almost ritualistic. The image of him on the sundial, pointing to the letters that could be interpreted as M and S or were and S, has fueled theories that the entire event was more than a crime, it was a symbolic rebirth. Maybe Mr. Burns didn't survive the shooting. Maybe what came back after that episode wasn't the same man at all. Throughout The Simpsons, Mr. Burns often shows flashes of vulnerability, moments where he seems to remember things no one else does, details from forgotten eras, events that no living person should recall. Once, he reminisced about owning a monkey knife fight ring in the 1920s. Another time, he recalled working with Thomas Edison. If these moments are true, then Mr. Burns would have to be impossibly older than Springfield itself. Could he be a ghost of American capitalism, wandering through history in the body of a frail old man, forever doomed to chase profit no matter the cost? Even his name carries a hidden meaning. Montgomery Burns. The word Montgomery derives from an old Norman name meaning mountain of the hunter, and Burns could signify fire or destruction. Combined, they sound like something ancient, something that consumes and devours. He's a symbol of greed that burns everything it touches and yet never runs out of fuel. It's strange how, in a town full of chaos and nonsense, Mr. Burns is the one constant. Empires rise and fall, characters come and go, but Burns remains. Maybe that's the real mystery. He's not just a man, he's the one thing Springfield can't get rid of. A presence that haunts every corner of the show, manipulating time, space, and storylines themselves to keep existing no matter what happens around him. Of all the strange twists and turns in The Simpsons' long history, Few moments have ever shocked fans like the revelation in the episode The Principal and the Pauper. It was there that the calm, strict, and slightly awkward Principal Seymour Skinner, one of Springfield AS most consistent authority figures, was exposed as a complete fraud. According to the story, the man we've always known as Principal Skinner wasn't Seymour Skinner at all, but an imposter named Armin Tamzarian, a former street punk who stole the real Skinner's identity after he went missing in Vietnam. For a show that had built its reputation on satire and continuity jokes, this twist was unlike anything else. It shook the very foundation of what fans believed about the world of Springfield. But the deeper you look, the more questions begin to pile up, and soon you realize that maybe the story we were told, I send T the full truth, think about it, before this episode. Skinner's life seemed relatively straightforward. He was the epitome of order, a disciplined, slightly repressed man who still lived with his overbearing mother, obsessed with rules and structure, and deeply committed to his job at Springfield Elementary. But after that episode, none of it made sense anymore. If he wasn't really Seymour Skinner, why did he act like one? Why would someone go through decades of living a lie, enforcing discipline, teaching children, and enduring endless humiliation, all just to maintain an identity that wasn't his? It's as if the town of Springfield itself wanted him to stay that way, to remain Principal Skinner, no matter what truth was uncovered. The episode ends with the townspeople rejecting the real Seymour Skinner, declaring that they prefer Armin Tamzarian as their principal. They literally tie up the real man, ship him out of town, and declare that no one will ever speak of it again. It's one of the strangest, most unsettling resolutions in the show's history, almost as if Springfield collectively decided to erase reality itself, and that's where the real mystery begins. Because afterward, the show simply returns to normal, as if nothing ever happened. The fake Skinner remains principal, his secret forgotten, and the story is never brought up again. No consequences, no continuity, no explanation. It's like the entire town willed itself into forgetting the truth. But can a secret like that really disappear so easily? There's a theory among fans that the Principal and the Pauper wasn't just a random plot twist. It was a coded message about identity, conformity, and the nature of Springfield itself. Maybe Skinner's identity crisis wasn't just personal. Maybe it was symbolic. Springfield is a place where time doesn't move forward, where people never change, and where every day resets. Perhaps Skinner's story reflects that the idea that once Springfield decides who you are, you can never escape it. Once you're given a name, a role, a purpose, you're trapped in it forever. Whether you're the real Seymour Skinner or not doesn't matter. Springfield needs you to be that person, and so you are, but what if there's something even deeper going on? Some fans believe that the episode was intentionally written to blur the lines between reality and fiction, that maybe Armin Tamzarian wasn't just pretending to be Seymour Skinner. Maybe he had actually become him. After living the life of another man for so long, his own identity dissolved completely. The town's insistence on keeping him as Skinner could represent a psychological phenomenon, how people collectively enforce reality even when it's false. Maybe Springfield's entire population lives in that same illusion, playing assigned roles they can never break out of. And then there's the other side of the mystery, what happened to the real Seymour Skinner. The show tells us he was a soldier who returned from war only to find another man living his life. But what if that wasn't the real story? His demeanor, when he appears, feels oddly cold, detached, even robotic. Could it be that the real Skinner wasn't who he claimed to be either? Some fans speculate that the man posing as the real Skinner might have been a government creation, part of some psychological experiment tied to Springfield's endless weirdness. After all, this is a town built around a nuclear power plant, constantly plagued by strange events. Maybe the experiment wasn't about one man at all. It was about seeing how an entire town would react to the rewriting of reality. Even Skinner's relationship with his mother, Agnes, raises questions. She never seems surprised by any of this. She quickly accepts Armin Tamzarian as her son and continues treating him the same way she always has. That's not how a real mother would react to losing her child and gaining an imposter. So what does that mean? Was she in on it? Did she know more than she let on? Or does she simply not care who her son is as long as he fills the same role in her life? It's eerie, almost mechanical, like the whole family dynamic is just another function of Springfield's looping, artificial world. And what about Skinner himself? After the truth is buried, he goes back to his routine completely unbothered, as if the memory of Armin Tamzarian has been erased. He returns to being the strict, lonely principal with an unshakable sense of duty. There's something tragic in that. It's as though the moment he reclaimed the Skinner name, his former self ceased to exist. Maybe that's what Springfield does. It consumes individuality and replaces it with archetypes. There's always a Principal Skinner, just like there's always a Homer, a Bart, a Moe. The faces might change, but the roles remain eternal. Some even think that Skinner-esque story is the key to understanding the nature of The Simpsons itself. Every time the show resets, every time the characters forget the past and start fresh, it's like the world of Springfield is rewriting itself, forcing everyone back into their pre-assigned lives. Skinner's identity crisis might have been the only time the system glitched, revealing for a moment that this world isn't as stable as it seems. But then, just as quickly, the glitch was fixed and Springfield returned to its illusion of normalcy. Maybe that's why the principal and the pauper feel so uncomfortable. It exposes the truth that in Springfield, there is no reality, only repetition, only roles that must be played. No matter who you really are underneath the surface, Maggie Simpson might just be the quietest character on television, but silence doesn't always mean simplicity. In fact, the youngest member of the Simpson family might be one of the most mysterious figures in the entire history of the show. She barely speaks, she rarely moves without purpose, and yet somehow, she always seems to know more than she lets on. Every time we see Maggie, there's this strange feeling that something deeper is going on behind those wide, innocent eyes, a kind of hidden awareness that makes her different from everyone else in Springfield. For decades, fans have laughed at her pacifier and her baby antics, but when you start connecting the dots, Maggie's silence starts to feel less like a cute running gag and more like a secret. There is something oddly unsettling about how self-aware Maggie seems. From the very first seasons, we've seen her display intelligence far beyond her years. She drives cars, shoots guns, solves puzzles, and even saves her family more than once. But how can an infant who can't talk be capable of such complex thought and action? Some fans believe that Maggie isn't just smart, she might be something supernatural, a kind of timeless observer trapped in the form of a baby. Her silence, they say, isn't because she can't speak, but because she chooses not to. Maybe she understands everything that's happening, and maybe she knows something the others don't. The first big clue comes from the classic episode, Who Shot Mr. Burns? In one of the most iconic moments in TV history, it's revealed that Maggie's sweet, harmless baby Maggie was the one who pulled the trigger. The scene is both shocking and strangely eerie. Mr. Burns, towering over her, tries to take her lollipop, only for the gun in his hand to fall into hers. A shot rings out, and Springfield's richest man collapses. It's played for dark comedy, but think about what it really means. Why Maggie? Why, out of every character in the show, did she end up as the one responsible for such a major event? Was it an accident, or was it something deeper? Some fans believe it wasn't coincidence at all, that Maggie's action was intentional, a subconscious moment of awareness where she decided to fight back against the corruption and greed that defines Springfield. Even beyond that moment, Maggie's behavior continues to suggest she's more than she appears. In countless episodes, she performs impossible feats with calm precision, hitting perfect shots with a rifle, orchestrating rescues, and even leading other babies in organized rebellion. It's as though she exists outside the childish chaos that surrounds her, always a step ahead, always aware of what's really going on. Some theorists have compared her to the silent child archetype in mythology, the figure who knows cosmic truths but cannot speak them. She might be the still point at the center of Springfield's madness, the one being who sees the world as it truly is. There's also something haunting about how time treats Maggie. Like everyone else in the Simpsons family, she never ages. But with Maggie, the effect feels especially unnatural. She's been a baby for over 30 years, an eternal infant frozen in time. If Springfield really is a looped world, a place that resets endlessly, then Maggie's permanent babyhood could be the most powerful symbol of that. She's innocence that never evolves, forever trapped in the same moment. Maybe that's why she doesn't speak, because in a world where nothing ever changes, there's nothing new to say. But here's where it gets even stranger. In certain episodes and alternate timelines, we do get glimpses of Maggie's future, and every time she's portrayed as someone extraordinary. In flash-forward episodes, she grows up to be a rock star, a politician, even a visionary leader. And yet, even as an adult, she's often shown as silent, communicating only through gestures or music. It's as if her silence follows her through time, no matter how old she gets. Maybe it's not a lack of speech at all, it's a power, something that connects her across timelines and dimensions, keeping her aware of every version of herself. Maybe she knows that every future she sees will eventually reset, and so she chooses to say nothing. Because words would mean acknowledging the illusion, then there's the recurring imagery surrounding Maggie. Whenever the family faces danger, it's often Maggie who ends up saving the day quietly, subtly, without anyone realizing it. In one episode, she rescues Homer from certain death. In another, she stops a gang war before it begins. It's as though fate itself bends around her presence, as if she's some kind of anchor holding Springfield together. Her pacifier could even be symbolic. The sound of it, that soft, repetitive suckling noise, is like a ticking clock or heartbeat, always there in the background, reminding us that time in Springfield doesn't flow normally. Every time we hear it, it's like a signal. The world is still looping. And Maggie is still watching. Some fans have gone as far as to suggest that Maggie might be the reason The Simpsons can end. Think about it. No matter what happens, no matter how absurd or catastrophic the episode gets, the show always resets, and The Simpsons are back to normal next week. What if Maggie is the key to that endless reset? Maybe she's the one holding the timeline in place, consciously or not. Her silence could be the silence of control, the quiet of someone who knows she's the only one aware that none of this is real. That would make her not just the youngest character, but the oldest and ageless, being trapped in an infant's body, watching her family repeat the same lives over and over. Even the other characters seem to sense something strange about her. Homer treats her with an unusual kind of reverence, almost fear, as if he instinctively knows there's something powerful about his youngest child. Lisa, the intellectual of the family, often looks to Maggie for comfort or understanding, and sometimes it feels like she's the only one who can sense Maggie's hidden awareness. Bart, of course, ignores her most of the time, but when he does interact with her, their connection feels deep, almost telepathic. It's like each member of the family subconsciously knows Maggie isn't just another baby. They just can't quite admit it when you step back and look at all of it. The intelligence, the silence, the timelessness, the unspoken awareness. It's clear that Maggie Simpson isn't just a background character. She's a mystery wrapped in innocence, a silent observer in a world of chaos, the one constant presence in a universe that keeps forgetting itself. Every fan of The Simpsons has noticed it at some point, even if they didn't realize what they were seeing. You're watching an episode from Season 3, maybe one of the early ones when the animation was rough and raw, and there in the background of the Quickie Mart or sitting quietly at Moe's Tavern you spot a face that looks oddly familiar. Then years later, decades later, even you're watching a completely different episode from a completely different era, and there it is again. The same face, the same expression, the same mysterious background character, unchanged by time or story. Springfield is full of them, these shadow figures who drift in and out of scenes without names, without voices, and without explanation. They're everywhere, and once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. At first, most people chalked it up to animation convenience. After all, it makes sense for a long-running show to reuse background models. But the sheer consistency, the precision of these recurring faces, makes it feel like more than just lazy recycling. These characters appear in places they shouldn't, in timelines that contradict each other, often standing motionless while chaos erupts around them. They're not the stars of Springfield's stories, yet they're always there, observing from the periphery like silent witnesses to a world that keeps looping and resetting itself. One of the most famous examples is the mysterious man with the gray hair and sunglasses who appears in nearly every season. He's never named, never speaks, and yet somehow he's been at key moments in Springfield's history. He's seen at the nuclear plant, walking behind the Simpsons' car, sitting in the crowd during parades and even in dream sequences. His face never changes, frozen, calm, detached. Fans have dubbed him the Watcher, and some believe he's more than just a reused design. They think he is a representation of something deeper, a being who observes Springfield's endless cycle of chaos, perhaps even controlling it from the shadows. And then there's the woman in the green dress and pearls who has been spotted across dozens of episodes. Sometimes she's a shopper, sometimes a diner, sometimes just another face at the back of a classroom. But no matter where she appears, her look is the same wide, fixed eyes and an eerily neutral smile. What's strange is how often she shows up during moments of disaster. Fires, riots, alien invasions, there she is. Untouched, unbothered, as if the rules of the cartoon world don't apply to her. Viewers have started to wonder if she is part of a hidden narrative, some quiet ghost wandering through every corner of Springfield, always watching, never aging. But the truly unsettling part I ascend to just that these characters reappear is that sometimes they seem aware of the main cast. In random frames, you'll catch one of these background faces looking directly at the camera, or at Homer, or at Bart, with expressions that don't match the rest of the scene. Almost like they're aware they're being seen. Some fans have gone through hundreds of episodes, tracking these figures, noting how their positions in each scene form patterns, geometric shapes, repeating numbers, even coordinates that match real-world locations. It sounds wild, but when you start mapping it out, the coincidences start to feel intentional. If you step back and think about the structure of The Simpsons, these recurring shadow characters start to make sense in a very eerie way. Springfield doesn't exist in a normal timeline that resets endlessly. People die and come back, years pass without anyone aging, and major events are forgotten in the next episode. What if these background faces are the only ones who remember? What if they're trapped in the cycle, condemned to wander through each version of Springfield, watching the same people make the same mistakes forever? There is even a theory that these figures might be echoes of the writers themselves, animated, representations of the people who created the show, written into their own universe as silent observers. The idea is poetic and chilling, the creators trapped within their own creation, forever watching the characters they gave life to but never able to interact. It would explain their constant, timeless presence. They're the gods of Springfield, walking among mortals, unseen but always there. Some episodes seem to tease this idea directly. In Homer 3, when Homer crosses into a three-dimensional world, the background characters of Springfield act strangely frozen, almost lifeless, as if they're waiting for him to return. In Treehouse of Horror episodes, these figures sometimes appear in the corners of shots, never acknowledged by anyone, yet always facing the audience. There is even a brief moment in one episode where a random background character seems to vanish, mid-frame, not walk off-screen, but simply flicker out of existence, as though the simulation momentarily glitched. And if Springfield really is some kind of simulation, then maybe these shadow people are its guardians, maintaining the illusion, keeping the timeline stable whenever something goes wrong. When a character dies but reappears the next week, maybe it's because these watchers reset the world. When the town burns down but is rebuilt by the next episode, maybe it's their doing. They exist on the edges of the story, invisible to the main characters, yet controlling the strings from behind the scenes. There's something deeply unsettling about how consistent they are. In over 700 episodes, through countless art style changes, technological upgrades, and new animation studios, these same faces keep appearing. They're not always placed the same way, but they're always present, and they never change. Their expressions, their posture, their eyes, they're exactly as they were decades ago. It's as though they've escaped time itself. Some fans believe these background characters could be the missing link that connects all of The Simpsons' strange phenomena, the endless time loop, the contradictions, the uncanny predictions of the future. Maybe they're the ones keeping Springfield running, the ones who make sure the world resets perfectly every Sunday night. Others think they're symbols, representations of the forgotten masses of American society, the background noise of a culture obsessed with spectacle. Either way, they stand there in silence, watching history repeat itself once you start noticing them. Springfield begins to feel less like a normal town and more like a dream one where faces repeat. Time folds in on itself and nobody ever really dies. The shadow characters are the ghosts of that dream, haunting every frame, unseen but ever present, reminding us that even in the funniest, brightest cartoon on television, there's something watching from the edges of the screen. And so, after diving deep into the strange corners of Springfield, we realize that The Simpsons is far more than just a cartoon about a dysfunctional family. It's a universe layered with hidden meanings, looping timelines, and characters that defy logic. From Hans Moleman's immortal misfortunes to the secret identity of Principal Skinner, from Mr. Burns' almost supernatural presence to Maggie's silent intelligence, and finally to the eerie shadow figures who lurk in the background, every mystery adds a new piece to a puzzle that might never be fully solved. Maybe that's what makes The Simpsons so endlessly fascinating, the way it hides secrets in plain sight. Each character, each unexplained moment, feels like a glitch in Springfield's carefully constructed illusion, reminding us that this animated world might not be as random as it seems. Whether it's coincidence, clever writing, or something more eerie, one thing is for sure, there is always another secret waiting just behind the yellow walls of this iconic town. And perhaps that's the true genius of The Simpsons. It's not just about humor or satire, it's about curiosity. It's about making us look closer, think deeper, and question what we see. Because in Springfield, nothing is ever completely ordinary, and even the smallest, strangest detail might just hide the biggest mystery of all.